Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating duet. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full names, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lana Lipe.
And I'm Carrie Lipe.
And we are the co-founders of Therapy Homeroom. And so a little bit about myself. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I run my own private practice. I'm also a doctor of social work student, and as well as the co-founder here at Therapy Homeroom. In addition to that, I do clinical mentorship as well as supervision for other mental health practitioners in the field, and this, is my passion.
Awesome. Thanks, Lana. I'm Carrie. I am located, and I'll speak on behalf of Lana as well, in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are native to Northwest Indiana, so if we have any what we call ourselves region rats out there, please let us know. So I, like Lana said, am one of the co-founders here at Therapy Homeroom. I kind of come in as the marketing person, which I love to do. I went to school at Ball State University. So again, if there's any Ball State people out there, love to hear from you. So now we are here and we've just launched Therapy Homeroom. We're a couple of months in, and we're excited to chat with you all today.
Yeah, and so what Therapy Homeroom is it is a e-commerce marketplace that is made by therapists exclusively for therapists. And so it's custom built to give therapists and mental health professionals the ability to have the tools they need to succeed in building practice. And the way that our business got started was when I went through grad school, I did all of the things. I decided, wow, I think I'd like to go ahead and start a private practice. And one thing that they don't tell you when you graduate is that you'll have all of these interventions, all of these tools, you'll be able to take notes and that kind of thing. But they don't teach you the business side of running a private practice. And so that was a really big learning curve for me. And so I started piecing together all of these resources and piecing together, just little bits of information off of the internet, trying to figure out, how do I go with all of this knowledge that I have to building a business that I could be proud of, that would be ethical, and that I could really, use to help people in my community. So that's when I reached out to Carrie, because Carrie does have a background in business. She has a degree in business, as well as running her own digital freelance marketing agency, and just really has a great knack for understanding the entrepreneurship side of things, as well as like the psychological component of marketing. So as the two of us were talking about everything, we realized that, wow, there's a lot of gaps that are existing, not only for me, but for a lot of therapists out there as well. And so that's how we came up with this idea of Therapy Homeroom, so we could have this one-stop shop where folks could really come and feel the support that they needed.
Right. And what kind of, Lana and I have a unique blend of skills that really came together to be Therapy Homeroom. And that's really Lana as the clinical or clinician side of things and bringing that area of expertise. And then when I was in undergrad, I studied the business side of things, but I also I wanted to go to school to be a therapist, but unfortunately that just wasn't in my path. I didn't want to go to school for ever. no offense, Lana, but I wanted to kind of take that quick approach, that business side, and get quick to paying back on my student loans. So I really, we took this unique blend of skills, like I said, that Lana and I have, the business side. And I also worked with several private practice owners, and then realized this area of opportunity that, social workers and clinicians are not having this area of served. Like, how do you run a business and also help people at the same time? Those are two very difficult things to get done. How do you do it? So that's what we're here to help people do.
Most definitely. And as we've come along in this journey, we've really realized just how vast the shortage is. So there is, I think the last time I checked, as of 2023, there's around 160 million Americans who are living in places where there's shortages of mental health providers. And so that means that 47% of the country is impacted by these shortages. And it's also estimated that we need over 8,000 mental health professionals to fill this gap. So why is that data important? It's important because that means that we have really long wait lists for people to get in to see a therapist or get the support that they need that way. But it's also affecting our communities because, our health affects our neighbors' mental health, our work mental health, that kind of thing. And in addition, because we're so busy and our caseloads are so high right now and the demand is so high, we're also seeing a lot of burnout and folks who are actually leaving the mental health field altogether. So those are some really big challenges that we've noticed, in addition to, just wanting to figure out how to run an ethical business.
Right. And kind of one of our, visions really at Therapy Homeroom is tackling this issue of, not issue, maybe, sure, area of opportunity for that, reducing the burnout and also reducing that one-on-one time in sessions so that the mental health professional can have a bit more flexibility in their free time, a bit more flexibility in the ways that they make money and their income so that they can better take care of themselves and their family than the community. It kind of is a trickle down effect. And also, if, bringing that data point back up of a shortage, a wait list, people can't get access to the mental health services that they need or require to live their daily lives. If we can, have more mental health professionals, maybe, running their own private practice and really doing it well, and from a healthy state of mind and a healthy business mindset, then there's more quality access to mental health services that then the general public can get. So not only, yes, we're serving therapists and hopefully opening up the floor for passive income, freedom and scheduling, all of that great stuff. But then as a result, we're also opening up the floor to the general community to get access to really good healthcare, mental health care.
And you're right as well, because when we're talking about accessibility, we're also thinking about accessibility for the therapists and clinicians, right? So as clinicians, we have ongoing training or, continuing education that we're required to have, costs a lot of money, and running a business, does cost a lot of money. And so a lot of us were spending money trying to, not only do like the legal things that we have to do to upkeep our professional licensure, but then many of us are also spending a ton of time and energy spinning our wheels, trying to figure out, okay, what platform should I be using? Where do I get resources? What are credible resources and what is ethical to be doing in this practice? And so unfortunately, there's been this big gap, not only in terms of accessibility, but also in terms of affordability. And so much of the cost for a lot of these programs that do exist, they're a lot of times one and done training programs. They're also very cost prohibitive when many of us clinicians are working paycheck to paycheck, and many of us have 2 and 3 jobs trying to fill the gaps where our income may not be able to be sustained. So I think that's another thing that really separates us as well, is we really spend a lot of time trying to give away as much as we can to folks to make sure that they're able to have access to resources. And then any of the resources that we do offer are not cost prohibitive. Another thing that we also include as well is we really want folks with like diverse backgrounds, right? Carrie and I don't position ourselves to be the experts, to be the all-knowing, people in this industry. We know that there's always more that we can be learning, and so we always invite in a number of different diverse voices, whether it be clinicians from different backgrounds, from cultural experiences, professional expertise. We really want to make sure that we are creating a collaborative community, because that is another gap that we're seeing as well, is many of us are doing this work in silos and we often don't know who to turn to. So our experiences, we do tend to operate by ourselves. So we're really trying to bridge a lot of these gaps for mental health professionals in a number of ways. In addition as well, one thing Carrie and I often laugh and talk about is a big gap for us is the challenges of technology. And Carrie can speak more on that. But she and I often laugh because there's many, many gaps for me learning technology together about that.
That's really nice. So how does Therapy Homeroom integrate technology to enhance that therapeutic experience and educational content?
So we do have our custom coded, e-commerce multi-vendor marketplace that we're still building, that we just launched, and so we really try to make sure that we know what platforms to use, such as like SEO. That is a big thing. If folks don't know that you're out there, they're not going to be able to find you. And so knowing how to use your analytics to be able to understand your return on investment if you are doing ads, or if you are, changing up your website a bit. So the website is a big one. Again, that's custom coded with our web development team. And then we also utilize things like, there's different like newsletter platforms where folks can go and download things very, very quickly without having, to spend a ton of time entering all their information. They can just download resources in a snap, and then they can keep it in their emails. They can, download it to their computers, and they can have the resources accessible to them right away.
That you've really streamlined it and made it easy for people to utilize the technology. So how does your platform incorporate user feedback into its platform and services for continuous improvement?
One of the big ones, like I had said, is we're really big into focus groups. So we want to know what's working about what we're doing, what maybe needs to be changed. So that's a big one. We also do a lot of surveys. So we send out a ton of different types of surveys, whether it be polls, through our email marketing campaigns, that kind of thing, where we're asking people what they want. If you ask somebody, hey, what is it that you are missing? Where are the gaps to your success? People will tell you. And that, I think, has been so important for everything that we've been doing.
Okay. Would you like to add to that last question?
Not at this moment. I'm happy to be back in the conversation, though. I was dying at the technology question. I was like, oh, I want to get in there. But I'm glad you did mention newsletters. And of course, social media, it is a bit of technology, although sometimes we don't necessarily kind of rank it as that in our brains. But we definitely like social media and meeting people where they're at. They're scrolling on TikTok, they're hanging out on Instagram. We want to get in that casual conversation just as much as we do the business ones.
Okay, so maybe this next question is for you as well. Where do you see the future of digital mental health education and support heading? And what role will Therapy Homeroom play in the future, do you think?
Sure. So I'm going to take maybe the latter part of this question, then I might pass the first part over to you, like the predictions for the future, Lana. I see this, and we were kind of just talking about this in one of our meetings, is we're going to see, not only have we seen like the shift from like in-person services to like virtual and like telehealth. Of course, we've all seen that post pandemic. What I think we're also going to see though now, and we like to have conversations with people still in grad school. So I think we're going to see this really cool leap of people who maybe aren't like what we may call ourselves as tech savvy, or someone might say, I'm not tech savvy. We're going to get a lot of tech savvy people coming out of grad school in the future, and it'll be cool to see how we use things which we already implement and like to teach at Therapy Homeroom, but stuff like automations for scheduling,
Yeah.
automations for onboarding. So that's going to be a really cool thing to see, not only in the therapy world, but even just technology in general. We're going to get a whole bunch of app developers who have been on their iPads since, day two. So I guess I'll shift the first part of the question back over to you, Lana.
That's a great answer. So also for, where we see the future of things going, it's really about stepping not only in, in the United States, but also worldwide, right? And so we are recognizing that, mental health doesn't just happen in a silo here in the United States. We'd really want to learn from folks internationally. What are the statistics saying? What are the interventions they're using? Who's doing really cool stuff? We really want to know more about that. And the benefit of, being digital is we're able to like bridge that gap where somebody can be, somewhere else and we can be sitting here together and having these conversations and breaking down those barriers.
I love that.
Yep.
That's fantastic. It's a real big vision.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give other entrepreneurs who are looking to create digital platforms in the mental health space?
Ooh, can I start?
Sure.
Sure.
Please.
So I'm kind of even going to contradict myself a little bit with my last answer. A bit of a hot take is like, don't get caught up on social media so much, because social media is only one leg of this whole digital realm that we have access to now. Like, what does your virtual space look like when you hold a virtual session? What does your website look like? But what does your email look like? What does your copywriting on your website? What does that all look like? It's not just all about, okay, I need to post on social media today or else I'm not going to get a client. It's not going to happen like that. And for some people, it might. I'm not scratching that idea. But maybe for some people, they might find more success on newsletters or maybe like a video marketing platform. Who knows? Like, so just be open to the digital world is so huge, and we're almost in like the wild west version of it right now. So just don't get stuck in that pinhole of, oh, I need to post, or I don't have 14,000 followers. It's just be cautious of the social media, like getting caught up in it. That'd be my advice.
That's an interesting observation. I love it. So what are the future plans for expanding Therapy Homeroom services and reach to support more individuals in need of mental health education and therapy?
What we'd really like to do going forward, as our revenue streams increase, is we'd really like to be able to offer things like scholarships to folks from, the mental health field, to be able to break down that barrier even further. So that way, any costs that would come up would not be a barrier, because we really, again, just want to make sure that it is accessible to as many clinicians as possible.
Yeah, right now there is a huge need for mental health practitioners. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are suffering in silence without access. So now let's talk about the two of you and let's get personal for a few minutes.
Sure.
I take it based on your surname that you are sisters, correct?
Yes. Sisters-in-law, yes.
Yes.
Oh, sisters-in-law. Okay. So I made an assumption there that was wrong. I'm glad I asked.
You were close.
I was close enough, yeah. And it's a very unusual combination. So I'm going to ask you two questions and answer them individually. Starting with you, Lana. If I could take you back to the beginning of this journey when you were going into the world of entrepreneurship, if you could go back to the younger you and give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would you say to her? What would you have wanted somebody to advise you before you launched on this interesting path?
If I could go back to my younger self when all of this started, I would say first and foremost that you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. And you're going to make a lot of them, and you are going to figure it out. The second thing that I would say is don't be afraid to be yourself. Being yourself is what's going to attract the right people to you, and it's going to have a lot more fun when you're being kind and authentic and truly you. And the last thing that I would say to her is don't be afraid to share that with other people. Being vulnerable and saying, hey, this is hard for me, or hey, this was a mistake that I made, or this was really cool, will allow other people to really see themselves in you and really be able to find commonality and connection.
If I could give my younger self 3 pieces of advice, I would tell myself to not be surprised that life is not going to go, and business and your professional life is not going to go as you envisioned it to go. I would also tell myself to keep on going, to not give up. There are some moments where I felt like kind of throwing in the towel, and honestly, I'm glad I didn't. And I'm glad that I'm still here and still doing the business thing. And the last bit of advice that I would give myself is you have more in you than you think. You are more creative than you think you are, and to let that light keep burning.
Okay, our last question is, if I could take you into the future now to go and have a conversation with the 80-year-old you, and you're sitting in your rocking chair surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, if you could go and have a conversation with this wise woman who's led you to that point, what would you say to her when you finally meet her?
So if I could go and have a conversation with my 80-year-old self, I would also tell my 80-year-old self to not be surprised probably at what has happened. And if I had a second piece of if I could have a conversation with my 80-year-old self, I would really ask myself if I had fun, and to really dive into those moments where I know that I was loving life and having fun, and really hit in on those moments with myself. And the last conversation that I would have with my 80-year-old self is reflecting on the big moments as much as these small moments, thinking of the big moments of my career and telling everyone that I was able to share my creative side with the world, and also, earn a living doing it, and be able to take care of myself while also really having this fun, creative, not stale, out of the box experience with my professional life.
If I could speak to myself in the future, I would tell myself, I really am proud of you for everything that you've done and the fact that you didn't give up, because look at all you were able to achieve. Even in the hard times, look at all the people you were able to help. I would also tell myself that I am proud of myself for not giving up and for giving myself the grace and the kindness and the compassion when things felt really hard, to just take a break, but not stop completely.
Fantastic. Ladies, thank you so much for coming online today and gracing us with your amazing presence. I wish you luck with everything you're doing. Thank you for changing the world with this amazing business. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is attracting some phenomenal women, movers and shakers in business, changing the world with their entrepreneurship. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing woman. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thank you again, ladies.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates, and join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time,